Ladies and gentlemen, Poland Daily Business welcomes you to our show, and we will talk this time a little bit about forecast for this year. Our guest is Artur Wróblewski of Łazarski University. Sir, welcome to the show.
Hello.
And you are watching to your crystal ball, trying to see the future. And May this year we will have, or actually April this year, we will have presidential election. First round, second round, maybe 2 weeks later. Then 5 months later, in November, we will have election in the United States of America. First of all, who will win those elections and why? And are those events connected? Maybe. What do you think?
To some extent, it's connected. My crystal ball is saying that President Andrzej Duda will win again. So he has his re-election in the pocket. And it's not even because he's the best candidate for presidency in Poland, in the world, but because the opposition candidates are very, very weak. And also my crystal ball is saying that President Trump also will be re-elected again, and we will see the continuity from January 20 to 2021, when he will be again entering the White House, starting his second term. And usually the American presidents are being re-elected. Only 3 times happened in the past, in 20th century, that American presidents were not re-elected. It was in times in 1932 in case of Herbert Hoover, in 1980 in case of Jimmy Carter, and in 1992 in case of George Bush Sr. So why the events are connected? Because we see a big chemistry between President Andrzej Duda and President Trump.
A similar nationalistic agenda. The nationalistic was a no word until this year. Now it's resurfaces as something positive.
Because it's a conservative common agenda, which is to some extent creating this chemistry, and we have a rightist also movements which won elections in the past in the United States and in Poland. So we see common denominators between the White House now and Polish presidential palace. We see several extremely important critical agreements signed between our countries recently in field of in area of energy security and in area of military security. So it's a good business deal also for the United States, but we are getting like security guarantees from the United States, which is priceless. Which is priceless because we cannot defend ourselves very well without help from NATO or from the United States especially. So this is priceless in case of a certain uncertainty relating to President Putin and his motives and policy of foreign policy of Russia, which is neo-imperial and revisionist. We see it with our eyes.
We also
but
see
also
that
we see. I'm also basing this predictions not only on my crystal ball and my intuition, but on scientific evidences and scientific proofs. For example, the public opinion polls are showing a quite strong support for President Trump, for example, where in those 6 swing states where someone has to win in order to become the president of the United States: Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona. Trump is winning those states or is a little bit behind Joe Biden, but probably he will win the swing states in this part of the United States, which is in the Rust Belt partially, and usually those states were going to Democratic candidates. But Trump changed everything in 2016, and he won some blue states, which historically supported the Democrats, and he also won, we remember, those states, swing states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, or important states to win the election, and he won it only with the majority of 77 1,000 votes. It was very small but critical.
But
and
that was
probably
then.
he will
This is
going
now.
to repeat. He will going to repeat this very spectacular feat.
Donald Trump 2016 was a Donald Trump who said the words that were upsetting to the middle-class intellectuals of America. Donald Trump 2020 is a person who achieved highest economical growth with his unprecedented
And this is
unusual economical policy, or he just did what every sane person should do in the politics of his country, defending jobs, creating growth, and lowering the taxes and regulations.
But he also lowered the other things like important to the economy in terms of prosperity and how the economy is doing. So he influenced economy to some extent, but also he's quite lucky. But this is another common denominator, that economy is booming in the United States, like in Poland. We closing the year, or close 2019, with the lower unemployment rate than expected. It was supposed to be 5.6, it's 5.2%, and we close it with higher than expected economic growth.
And that's a historic record.
Measured
Like we
in
never
GDP,
had that before.
not
Yes.
3.8 but 4.4, and also we have a balanced budget probably, despite the social spending and social transfers. So economy is also helping both Andrzej Duda and President Trump. But also in case of the United States, there's another important factor, impeachment, which actually did not achieve what was supposed to achieve. I mean, destroy the reputation of President Donald Trump. Maybe it's influencing reputation of President Trump, but it also influenced the reputation of Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's, probably he will be the candidate of Democratic Party for the presidency, and he will be the candidate for November 3rd, 2020.
But that's still to be discussed,
however,
because we don't know. There's Mr. Bloomberg running for presidency.
Exactly, but
lots of
now
candidates.
public opinions are showing stronger support in the Democratic Party for Mr. Joe Biden. Why? Because he's a very moderate candidate. Besides him, we have candidates like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, which are sounding very socialistic,
They are Marxist.
very radical. They want to cancel, to destroy electoral college, remove tuitions from the universities, or they want to attack Wall Street, or introduce the Medicare for all, or public health service free of charge for everybody in the United States, which is completely unrealistic and is scaring away even those liberals on the East and West Coast and in big cities in the United States. That's why Joe Biden, not Bloomberg, Joe Biden probably will be a nominee of Democratic Party, and probably he will lose against President Donald Trump.
And your crystal ball already predicted that, so we will check.
We will check and see what will happen, but
Right.
my crystal ball never lies.
Artur Wróblewski, at the beginning of 2020, we already know how it will end, so, we'll meet again next year. No, that was a joke. I hope you'll be here more often, because we have lots of important things to discuss. But for now,
Okay.
time is up, sir. Thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you for inviting me to the show.
Artur Wróblewski of Łazarski University was our guest, and that was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business.